call to order. It is October 19, 2020, Canton City School District Board of Education regular meeting. It is 7 o'clock. Could we go ahead and take roll call, please?
Mr. Lovely?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carney?
Yes.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Okay, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 3. Hopefully everybody can understand me. If not, I'll take it off because I know we're 6 foot social distancing here. But let's go ahead and approval and correction of the minutes of the regular meeting held on September 21st and the special meeting on September 28th. Could I have a motion?
Albert.
Albert, second?
Stryker?
Stryker, thank you so much. Any discussion, any corrections? Nope. Okay, let's go ahead and have a vote.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carney?
Yes.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Mr. Lovely?
Yes.
Okay, item 4, no principal and faculty reports, I don't believe. We're not doing any of that. 5, public participation. No one signed up for that. And then we'll move on to item 6, reports of the treasurer. It looks like we're approving the following September 30th reports. Cash position, check registry, receipt ledger, investment report, journal entries. Could I have a motion, please?
Albert.
Albert, and a second.
Stryker?
Stryker, okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay. Let's go ahead and have a vote then, please.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carney?
Yes.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Mr. Lovely?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Okay, item 7, superintendent's report communication.
The only thing I think that we should talk about a little bit is just to make sure that people are registered for the Parent Square app. That's the way the district is communicating. District updates, any kind of letters, those kinds of things will come from that Parent Square app. So if anyone is having trouble getting that set up, if you just call your building office, they will be able to help you. And if you're not able to access it, it's also good to let your principal and teachers know so that they can find an alternative form of communication. So,
and if they have their cell phone number and email address updated in final form, they're already set up. They've already been receiving the messages.
Oh, that's awesome.
so we've had really good response. It's a more robust kind of communication system. So we're super excited with how it's working. We just want to make sure that all of our families are aware, are registered, and are receiving the communications. I will just also say that if you haven't visited the website lately, especially as it relates to COVID-19 resources or information, you should do so. That's updated daily. So if you go to the banner and you click on the COVID-19 part, it will take you to a page that will give you resources, that will give you updates, that give you current stats. But that's your best resource to get the most up-to-date, accurate information. We try our best to get that updated by the end of the day every day, but depending how the day goes, it could be just a little later in the evening, but that is updated every day. So I think that's all I have because everything else is covered in the committees.
Okay. Then we'll actually move on to item 8, and that's the board committee reports. Finance.
So yeah, just to start off here, what I had was, I know we had touched base in regards to the top 20 fees this year. It's generally a $700 fee, but I think that was broken down. $400 of that goes to the boosters, and then the remaining $300 is paid to the school. But from what I understand in our meeting, they're foregoing a $300 fee this year, and in lieu of everything probably going on. So
They'll have reduced expenses.
yeah, right. Yeah. So I think though that if that $300 has already been paid, they can either carry that over to the next year if they choose to do so, or if they've already paid it, there's an option to have it reimbursed as well. So, and then I know we had touched on, as far as like vendors go, and I know that, from what I understand, Doug generally tries to get like 2 to 3 vendors so they can compare prices and try to get the best price. Generally, I think he tries to go with one local vendor and then probably one that's not a local vendor, but always just looking to match or try to find or beat the competitor's price.
And just so everyone knows, that's Doug Comstock?
Yeah,
Not Doug Kirby.
Yeah, Doug Comstock. Yeah. We have a lot of Dougs.
You know, which is great.
Yeah, right.
You just want to make sure that you get the best prices you can on
Yep.
on supplies. So
Right.
that's great that he does that.
So it sounds like that's all in line, so, yeah, thanks for that clarification. And then I know that we'd also talked briefly about the fundraiser and ticket reconciliation form the jail had set up and created for everyone to use. And I think from what I gathered from it, it's just mainly to help protect the district for audits and things of that sort, so.
Yes, it's for the employee safety and the district. When audits come in, we want to make sure that we're having our checks and balances in place.
That's really, I think, all that I had. If I left anything out or missed anything,
That's good.
that's what I,
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate
Yep.
it. Career Center?
Okay. So just so you know, when I give my report, High Point meets the week after we do. So my reports are from what they met about in September. I just wanted to make that clear for everybody so they understood. So this is Deb's report from the 23rd of September's meeting. She said there was some discussion regarding cleaning procedures after they had a student present with 4 of the COVID symptoms. And they also discussed the purchase of hotspots for students so they could have internet access at home. They discussed student enrollment numbers, and the satellites were actually down this year, but felt it was related to the number of students who have opted for the online coursework. So that was just really her update from last month.
Okay. All right, thanks, Sheena. Policy.
We touched on some new policies and some revisions of policies. The big one was COVID related. I think everybody's seen that coming. Just how the school is going to respond to COVID in our county, the county plan. We went back to the health, the superintendents went back to the county health department and updated the plan, looked at things of ways to make things better, and we are now no longer basing our in-school hybrid and online based on the county colors. It's going to be kind of more on a case-by-case basis, area-by-area basis. Like, so let's say a hotspots in Ridgemont, but it doesn't mean that we now have to go hybrid or we have to go online, but due to things like that. We also touched on Title IX, where to place it on the website and where we needed that to go. Ryan quickly took care of that. But mainly the hot stop was the COVID-related policy and how I know parents were worried about, the governor, we get enough cases where we are now a red county and that we're automatically going to go to hybrid or we are going to on remote or online, which is not necessarily the case. And I've spoken to many people and many parents are that kind of help settle their fears, I guess, because a lot of parents, including myself, struggle when we're online because I'm not a teacher. So I do my best. And Jen may be able to touch a little bit better on all that stuff too.
I think what's important to understand is the way the Hardin County reopening agreement was written was that the decision on the instructional model, just like Justin shared, was based on one factor only. And that data is out of date. And I know that that sounds crazy, but we meet with the health department weekly, usually more than once a week. And our data and our numbers are usually ahead of what a color would be. And we think, just like when we make a calamity day call, we use multiple factors. We don't use one piece of information. So we just thought as a superintendent network that we needed to be intentional with those decisions. We wanted to be proactive with those decisions, and we wanted to have multiple factors into the decision-making process. So the only thing I caution our community about, it's kind of like calamity in a sense that you may see a school district going to a different instructional model, but they may have a different situation than Kenton does. Or just like Justin shared, we might go to a different scenario based on where we're at. But we have a very open line with the health department. We also have other indicators that we're using when we're making those decisions. So I think it's benefits everyone. And that new Hardin County agreement is in that resource section on the COVID website.
And I think we're approving that later on from that.
Yeah, and everything else on there is just something like Justin shared with Neola, something with a law, or there was a revision that we had where we had to make an update. Those are just kind of like the cleanup policies that we do a couple times each year. But it was a really good discussion, I thought, with the committee.
Okay, awesome. Curriculum and instruction.
I put this on here because we had a DLT meeting in September, and we meet quarterly is probably the closest way to describe it. And the two goals were set for the district for the upcoming year. One is around formative assessment. So just judging where our students are and where we need them to be. So again, just like the COVID color system, taking multiple data points to make a decision and help a child improve versus one point in time. The second goal is around social emotional learning. You've probably heard a lot about that. You've also saw what was called student wellness dollars back in the spring that was given towards helping meet all the needs of our students. And so in our strategic plan, we call that the comprehensive system of learning supports. So things that might not be about reading or math, things that we can help with and support. And so our district leadership team consists of teachers from across the district, as well as some other administrators or department heads. And like I said, they collect data around those goals, and we meet quarterly.
All right, thank you. Item 9, old business. I don't think we had anything there. We'll move on to item 10. Personal items. The C10A there, supplemental contract for employment. Looks like we're going into the next season of sports. It's pretty much what it looks like to me. Basketball, wrestling, cheerleading, weight training, physical, design team. So that's what 10A is. 10B is supplemental contract for the non-employees. Again, looks like sports. Looks like it's all sporting coaches. 10C has volunteers. Looks like for the sporting goods.
Athletics.
Athletic teams, thank you. That's the correct terminology.
They use sporting goods, that's fine.
Sporting goods, you know. And it looks like we're, got some requests and approval for medical leave. Extended leave. Looks like we got some substitutes for contingent on paperwork, that's 10G there. A couple more medical leaves. And educational assistant. All right, I need a motion, please.
Dick.
Dick, and a second?
Albert.
actually related to Logan Howard, it's important for me not to vote on that. So if we could go ahead and have a vote, please.
Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Mr. Lovely?
Yes.
Ms. Striker?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
And Mr. Carney?
Abstain. Okay, item 11, authorization of resolution, approval of contract in the North Central ESC for Kent City Schools for, I can never say that word, audiology.
You did perfect.
And we're also approving some donations to the high school for the gatekeepers, and approved donations for the choir program. There's quite a few listed there from the local, and actually looks like there's a couple out of town businesses that are donating. We appreciate that very much, and we thank you for that. Some more donations to the athletic fund, civil donations from the Rotary Club. Contract between Kansas City Schools and Madison Champaign ESC for ED services. And then I think 11D there is, I think, what Justin touched on with all the new policy updates. And actually 11A is H as well. 11I is the Hardin County reopening agreement that Justin mentioned and Jennifer spoke about. And then amended appropriation, approved amended certificate estimate of resources for 2021. And then we also approve, or we're trying to approve the 5-year depository agreement with Liberty National Bank for the next 5 years. And then we're also approving a couple contractors for interpreting, Erica Rodriguez and Vincent Mendez. Could I have a motion, please?
Lovely.
Sorry. Who was it? Leslie, I'll do Leslie there. How about a second?
Albert.
Albert, thank you, gentlemen. And any discussion? Pretty cut and dry there, straightforward, I think it was. Okay, without any discussion, we'll take a vote.
Mr. Lovely?
Yes.
Ms. Striker?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carney?
Yes.
And Mr. Dick?
Yes.
Okay, and next item, we do need to schedule a special board meeting for hiring. So we'll make sure we kind of get a date together that all of us can make. Jen, you're looking at next week sometime?
Ideally, it just helps with payroll because we need them to start as soon as possible. And it can be virtual. So right now, 3 items: an educational assistant, a custodian. We're doing interviews this week for that position, and then a coach that Brett just secured, and I don't know the position, but coach he needed. So either late, mid to late next week, or the first of the following week. So we could start with the 28th. Does anyone have a conflict with the 28th?
No.
No.
I'm good.
Well, that
Okay.
worked too well.
28th, I'm fine.
What time would you like to do it? And it will be virtual.
I'm good anytime after 3.
After 4 is good for me.
5:36 good for everybody?
Sure.
Okay.
Which one, 5:30 or 6 would you like?
Oh, it doesn't matter to me. I'll just make sure it's good for everybody else.
Sure. 5:30 on the
5:30?
28th.
Yep.
And I did forget to mention one thing that I did get an email about today, and it reminded me when we went through the depository stuff. The window screens that were supposed to be installed in April, that got pushed to Fair Week, that are now supposed to get installed tomorrow. So fingers crossed, and then Justin, we need you to do a walkthrough. But those window screens are supposed to be, and that's for the entrances of all the buildings so that you can see out, but people can't see in.
On that topic of safety, we came up to a conclusion on a date for the Alice program?
They haven't done that yet.
I didn't know, I didn't heard anything, so I was just curious.
Yep, they're still waiting on the release for how the program would work with the COVID and the
Okay.
distancing and everything. Yep, so that's really good news, so I forgot to share that. But we hope it can be installed starting tomorrow.
All right, with that, we'll do adjournment at 7:19. The next board meeting will obviously be the special board meeting on the 28th at 5:30. That will be held virtually. And then the next regular board meeting will be held on November 16th at 7 p.m.